After the release of the Amazing Digital Circus Episode 6, I got a pretty logical question that, it seems, many fans of the series overlook. Namely, what awaits us at the end of Season 1? What events will take place there? After all, Episode 6 is already out, and Glitch isn't known for making long seasons. Metarunner, Murder Drones, and Sunset Paradise are great examples. None of these projects had more than 10 episodes per season, so we're quickly approaching the finale, yet we still don't understand how exactly Season 1 will end. That's why I decided to gather my thoughts and share my theories with you in this video. But before that, let's recall some other important storylines of the series. They also play a key role in the overall story. Welcome to Royal Studio, and let's go. Episode 6 focused heavily on Jax's personality, which made fans shift their attention to him. And to be honest, Jax doesn't play a key role in the overall plot of the series. However, he is important in the context of the upcoming episodes. His arrogant and mean behavior is just an act. It's a mask he hides behind from everyone else. This is clearly seen in the final scene of Episode 6, during the awards ceremony. So we have no reason to believe he's the main villain of the arc, someone who doesn't care about anything and does evil just for fun. On the contrary, he was clearly upset after his last confrontation with Pomni. Moreover, he even had a real panic attack in front of the mirror. And it's not just about Pomni. There was another, deeper reason. He didn't look just upset. He looked genuinely scared. Why? Most likely, it's not about the conflict with Pomni, but about Jax's own inner struggles. And you know what? It seems I'm right on the mark with this assumption, because Jax really is a very complex character. Remember the scene from Episode 5 when he mocked Zubul, accusing her of being too secretive? Zubul replied, "You would know all about that, wouldn't you?" Implying that Jax himself constantly hides his own secrets from everyone. In that same scene, she asks him what he used to do before ending up in the circus, and instead of answering, he tells the story of Walter White from Breaking Bad, once again confirming that he doesn't want to share any personal information about himself. Moreover, Gooseworks, the creator of the series, if anyone didn't know, stated on her Tumblr that every character has a reason for their behavior, especially Jax. But why does he refuse to talk about his past? Is it really just because his past was terrible and he doesn't want to remember it? I have one theory. It's all about his archetype, as he himself called it. Listen to this scene from Episode 6.
All right, let me be real here. Why do you care about that?
About not hurting my friends?
Look, I know what it's like. One day you're somebody in the real world doing important things, and then the next you're just a weird little cartoon jester. You want to hold on to that part of you that still thinks it's part of that world, but in the end, what does it get you? Ragatha tries to be all nice and friendly, but she gets torn up every other adventure. Whether we like it or not, all we are now is a bunch of cartoon characters. So what's the point of pretending we're not?
We're still people, though, right?
I thought we were at first, but as time goes on, we just end up falling into our archetypes, become part of the machine.
What's your archetype, then? The villain?
Listen, I add a key dynamic. I see how far I can push things. I screw with people, and I break the fourth wall. You want to know why? It's 'cause it's funny. I do everything 'cause it's funny. 'Cause I'm the funny one.
The funny one?
Yeah. Ragatha's the cheerful one, Gangle's the sad one, Kinger's the crazy one, Zubul's the grumpy one, and you are the one who hasn't figured that out yet. We all just became archetypes. I at least have the self-awareness to choose who I am.
The funny one.
So who do you want to be? No better chance than now to try something new. You want to go nuts? You want to finally work off those weeks of rage and anguish that have been building up inside you? I know you hate it here. Everyone does. But the silver lining is you can pretty much do whatever you want. Like, look at the way you're aiming that gun. Too realistic. Just let loose.
He literally says that he once tried to hold on to the real part of himself, but his endless imprisonment in the circus wore him down so much that he decided that since he's stuck there anyway, he might as well have some fun with it. He believes that acting this way makes him happy, because it's his own choice. But I'm inclined to think it's just a mask. Self-deception. Most likely, the evil Jax from Episode 5 isn't just a reversed version of him. It's his past self, brought to life by Ragatha, to remind him of who he used to be. Back in that past, just like Pomni, he hadn't yet found his archetype, and was kind and modest before becoming who he is now. And the loss of his friend Quackus, who disappeared shortly before the events of the series. judging by the fact that he was the last one before Kaufmo could have been the turning point that changed Jax and made him afraid of sharing the same fate. And in the end, this whole situation with Pomni might actually benefit him, since he wouldn't want to lose her too, which could become his motivation to finally change. Another mistake that's easy to make is assuming that the abstracted can be brought back to normal. And honestly, I almost fell for it myself, because it all seems to fit together. We even have that scene with Kaufmo in episode 3, where he mentions that his abstracted wife was able to find peace in the darkness, and the fact that abstraction is merely a reflection of one's mental state. If Kaufmo's wife managed to calm down, then she's not entirely lost. All of this tells us that, no, they didn't become aggressive monsters completely. Somewhere deep inside, their souls still live on. And then there's Jax and Quackus, whose return would definitely help him heal. Besides, that would have been an interesting concept for Season 2, where the characters would have to help the abstracted rehabilitate through adventures. But sadly, Gooseworks explicitly said that the abstracted can't come back. It's not something that can be undone. At first, it might seem that Gooseworks was referring to Kane's magical abilities, which, in principle, we already know, considering that he doesn't heal the abstracted, but simply throws them into the pit. But then Gooseworks said that Pomni and Kaufmo would never become friends, even though they could have been if the latter hadn't been abstracted. Of course, there still remains a small possibility that one of the abstracted might return, and that Kaufmo is doomed to remain in the basement forever. But that chance is extremely low. This completely debunks any theories about curing the abstracted, unless Gooseworks changes her mind, or we once again misinterpreted her words. And the most extreme option, she's simply lying for fun, as she tends to do. There are also other things that catch my attention, like this scene from episode 6. It lasts only about 8 seconds and has no dialogue at all. In it, Kane is lying on a lounge chair, looking at photos of office spaces with computers. It's worth noting that Kane was acting rather strange throughout the episode. This behavior is tied to the fact that the characters stopped enjoying his adventures. They now prefer the suggestion box with their own ideas, which makes Kane jealous. But that's not all. When he suggested an adventure involving a trust test, Jax immediately ruined it by shooting Ragatha. That completely upset Kane. His rules about profanity were being ignored, his adventures were replaced, and he was being disrespected. Now, what about those photos? Well, we've already seen such rooms before. In the pilot, it was the entrance to the void. At first, Kane lied about there being no exit, and none of the characters doubted his words until Pomni showed up, discovering it upon her arrival at the circus. After Pomni was rescued from the void, Kane finally admitted that he had lied about the exit's existence, and explained that he wanted to fulfill their dream by creating one, but he abandoned the project because he didn't know what to make on the other side. By that, he meant something like a location, a place he wanted to use to fill the void. And in my opinion, that answers the question of what we'll see in Season 2 of the series. At the end of Season 1, the characters won't escape the circus as if it were the digital world. They'll simply move to a new location, the office, and from there, they'll search for an exit once Kane fills the void with office rooms. But one final question still gives me reason to believe that there may be no exit at all. Let's end the video with my crazy but interesting hypothesis. So, have you ever asked yourself how exactly the characters ended up in the digital circus? Sure, we know that people entered the circus using a VR device and couldn't escape afterward, with the cycle of new people arriving continuing all the way up to Pomni. But here's my question. What happens to the people whose VR headsets got stuck? Why didn't the sight of zombie-like bodies with headsets scare anyone? Considering that some, like Kaufmo, were stuck there for years, by the time a new person arrived, there should have been a skeleton lying on the ground. Someone who died of dehydration and starvation while their mind was trapped inside the circus. One might assume that there are multiple headsets, but it's unlikely that there are so many of them scattered all over the world. Most likely, there's just one set per country, especially given that all the characters speak the same language. I've come up with a more logical version. What if only the consciousness of the characters was scanned, while their real selves removed the headset long ago and went on living their lives? That would be a pretty good plot twist, one that would permanently close the idea of escaping the circus, helping the characters accept the fact that they were never truly real, and that their true home is the digital circus. That's why Kane can't give them freedom, no matter how much he might want to. It's possible that he himself is also just a scanned consciousness of another person, someone who believes he's an AI, just like the others, but doesn't realize that he was once human too. After all, Kane is far more intelligent than any NPC, and clearly possesses abilities given to him by his creator, who might actually be himself. Some of Gooseworks' statements might contradict this, but as we know, she loves to lie about the plot for fun. Take Kaufmo's demonstrated ability to create butterflies that restore health upon touch. He even confirms in episode 6 that he created them, and that's a power on Kane's level. This slightly blurs the line between Kane and the main characters of the series, so we can't rule out that possibility either. Something similar appeared in the plot of the 2015 game Soma, which actually inspired me to come up with this theory. As supporting evidence, I'd also point out the fact that the characters forget their former selves. They can't remember their names and act more like their archetypes, like Gangle. And finally, the last piece of evidence, the final shot of the pilot, where we see that no one is sitting in front of the computer and the VR headset is lying on the table, as if it had already been used by someone before. So, what do you personally think? What are your guesses about the ending of the first season and the future development of the series? Write your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to support the channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. See you next time.